sponsored by the Digama Group.
Welcome to Rumbo Minero. My name is Cesar Campos, and this time we are going to host a program together with Miguel Zavala. This is the first program of the year 2024. Wishing you all a happy and prosperous year. How are you, Miguel?
How are you, Cesar? How are you? Nice to be with you today.
That's right. Today we have Miguel, a good program to analyze the projections and what awaits us in the economic field and economic issue linked to mining. Of course, a topic that we will discuss with Luis Miguel Castilla, former Minister of Economy and Finance, and also Director of Videnza Instituto.
That's right, Cesar. And we will also have the presence of Miguel Incháustegui, former Minister of Energy and Mines and Independent Director at Candente Copper, with whom we will discuss leadership and what concrete actions should be taken against illegal mining.
Two important topics that show us the need to give projection and a vision, a perspective of what is going to happen in the mining field throughout this year, 2024. Let's go to the mining news of the week by Gabriela Chicoma.
Thank you, Jorge. Here is the top mining news of the week. After completing its latest definition and expansion program for its wholly owned Ayahuilca project in Pasco, Tinca Resources announced that it expects to incorporate a mineral resource update and an economic assessment of a possible future mining strategy for the zinc and silver zone. In addition, he noted that he is targeting a first-time processing scenario for the tin zone. During the last few months, mining-related social conflict has registered a steady increase, exceeding 220 cases. This figure marks the highest rate in the last 7 years. According to the Observatory Report on Mining Conflicts in Peru, presented by the institutions Cooperación Grufides and FedePaz, more than 60% of these conflicts fall into the socio-environmental category, and 67% of these conflicts are linked to mining. Chacana Copper Corp completed the first tranche of its private placement for gross proceeds of up to $612,033, approximately $821,659 Canadian dollars. The company intends to use the proceeds to execute 2,400 meters of exploration drilling and advance the company's high-grade copper-gold-silver discovery at the Soledad project, located in the Ancash region of Peru.
Thanks to Gabriela Chicoma for the main mining news of the week. As we had announced, the former Minister of Economy and Finance, Luis Miguel Castilla, also Director of Videnza Institute, is already in the studios of Rumbo Minero to talk about mining in this new year, 2024, how it is projected according to all the analyses and perspectives that have been drawn. Miguel, as always, it is important to have you here in our studios, and thank you for accepting the invitation.
Thank you, Cesar. Happy New Year.
In mid-December, a report was published in El Comercio newspaper by the Peruvian Institute of Economics, in which it was stated that the Peruvian economy in 13 regions would end up in the second half of the year. A negative year, but highlighted that none of the 16 mining regions would have obtained a positive result in the third quarter if this industry had been left out. So mining continues to be an important lever for our development, and I imagine that this year we should take it into account by focusing on all the pending projects.
That's right. Alone, not only in the regions, but at the macro level. The contribution of mining has been substantial in the past year, but you haven't seen, if you look at quarter after quarter, the contribution of mining has been going down. And already, the incorporation of the new production has already been internalized, let's say, and there are no large, obvious projects, right? No. Last year, more or less, $1 billion were unblocked, the special team of the MF, but they are expansions, they are not new projects. That is, major projects that continue to support mining, and certainly without mining, the most affected regions.
These have been replacement investments, right?
Right, expansion, brownfield as it is called, but there have been no new projects.
Exactly.
Luis Miguel, mining investment would have closed the year 2023. Well, we still do not have the exact figures, but with an average drop of around 18, according to estimates of the Central Reserve Bank. However, a better breath is expected for this year, 2024, in spite of the political noise, according to City Research, which indicates that there will be a return of foreign and local mining investment for this year. Do you share these opinions or these analyses?
Let's see, the fall will be less pronounced this year. According to the central bank, there will be a fall of around 6 or 7%. And if one rather looks with a longer perspective, today mining averages more or less between $3 to $3.5 billion a year, which is a third of what was invested 10 years ago, where the average was between $9.5 to $10 billion every year. So we are looking at a fraction than it was in the past, and that obviously responds to a number of factors, but it is a bit contradictory that in an environment of still high prices, in an environment in which the energy transition continues to be fundamental. We had last year the COP28, and the need to accelerate this transition process was ratified, which is intensive in metals such as copper. We do not have projects or the level of diligence. Much has been promised to simplify the cumbersome procedures, the single window, but unfortunately they have been pure words that have fallen on deaf ears. Not much has been implemented. And what is announced for this year, there is a big question mark regarding the capacity to comply with the promises. I believe that the government still has a great credibility deficit. And what they say, the minister, the prime minister, finally, let's say, you don't see much movement. So let's hope that this will be partially reversed this year, but we are a fraction of what we were 10 years ago.
It is that sometimes it gives the impression, Miguel, that there are subaltern or subway actions, let's put it this way, given that, for example, the Minister of Economy and Finance, Alex Contreras, is very optimistic and announces that in the year 2024 that we are starting, at least 46 projects are going to be unblocked. But also at the end of last year in the Diario de Gestión, there was information that the restriction to mining now covers 40% of the Peruvian territory. That is to say, there is a bureaucracy that is taking more and more space away from mining, formal mining, for exploitation and exploration areas. And yet there is a terrible statistic. Only 20 million hectares are formalized, while 25 million are divided between the illegal and the informal. So do you observe perhaps the same, or do you have the same vision that I am announcing, that there is something that is not working despite these grandiloquent announcements by the authorities?
Yes, there is a disconnection between what is announced and reality. Because in addition to what you have said, Cesar, we have 85 million hectares that are owned by organized crime. Lease illegal mining. And we have bills in Congress that try to promote territorial planning, which again does not seek the complementarity of territorial development, but exclusion, is to create exclusion zones and by exception allow extractive activity. Then if that is what prevails, illegal mining and a more ideological agenda of conservationist, of not taking advantage and creating the conditions for mining to grow at good rates, we are going to be condemned. I believe that if there is a great lesson that the year 23 left us, then we are going to be condemned. I believe that if there is a great lesson that the year 23 left us, then we are going to be condemned, is that mining is fundamental for the country's growth. And when it shuts down, the rest of the country shuts down. And this is an indubitable truth that I hope the authorities will become aware of. Much also depends on the regional governors that enter in their second year, and that depends on political will. The governor of Arequipa has, for example, a possibility to support a project like Tia Maria if there is political will. The company is creating the conditions for access to the water resource, but we need to lose the fear of making decisions. And this timorous attitude of the national or regional authorities obviously takes its toll, and the resources go elsewhere, or the investments continue to be delayed or remain at a relatively mediocre level for what could be given the opportunities we have.
Luis Miguel, talking about the issue of illegal mining, I wanted to have your opinion on the rainfall issue. If you consider that it should disappear. Well, there are other experts that we have had here in the program that indicate that it should be reformulated, rethought, revised. Hey, what do you think the future of rainfall should be?
I believe that rainfall conceptually had, let's say, some laudable objectives, but obviously it has been completely distorted. because it has given a cloak of legality for many to operate, to buy explosives, and without complying with the minimum requirements, there are a series of requirements to keep those registrations in force. This has not been maintained, and there have been 4 extensions in Congress, now on the 20 this year. At the end of the year, I believe it expires again, and there will probably be a very strong force to renew it, and illegal mining has representation in Congress. So we will see if this is indeed the case. I believe that we have to make a consensual effort that goes beyond rainfall, which has to do with the whole chain, including commercialization and transformation. The competencies, because there are many that are at the regional level, maybe give more teeth to the OEFA or other oversight entities, because it is an issue that worries me very much, Miguel, that this is going to spread to areas of formal mining, Patas, Cajamar, La Libertad is neighboring Cajamarca, and this activity can, let's say, continue due to the lack of the power vacuum that exists in the country, and this is the land, the fertile land for transnational criminal gangs with an enormous, not only social and human cost, but the reputation of the country.
Not only the neighboring areas, let's talk about the Amazon, let's talk about Puno, where illegal mining is also taking place, and obviously this could cover other geographic areas as well.
And there's a social issue that I do not think should be, let's say, underestimated, because there are at least 500 people who depend on this activity. And it is not that suddenly one goes and prohibits it, and those people, what do they do, right? So I think it is an issue, that it does not have an easy solution, that it has to have a totally comprehensive approach. But obviously extending states of emergency, militarizing the area, I believe that this is a short-term solution. But it does not solve the illicit activity that unfortunately is working with drug trafficking, is working with transnational crime, and dealing with that problem is very, very difficult. So I think it is a great challenge that we have as a country, not only to over-regulate the formal sector, but also to face this problem, which is a national problem, and little or nothing is being done.
Is it true that we have an absurd pessimism as Peruvians, that we do not look at opportunities when we are talking about these kinds of problems?
Let's see. So I would say that I have a cautious optimism towards this year that is starting. We have elements to say we can accelerate growth. Inflation is lower. Interest rates are going down. This El Niño that has weakened, and hopefully it will be, let's say, not strong. And the fiscal impulse that was approved last year, well, hopefully it will have an effect now, right? And this, if there is a little bit of good sense, and if they buy the lawsuit at government level, and the Congress is less, let's say, disconnected from the national reality, it could be a year of higher growth, obviously, than last year. But in the best of the estimates, we are at 2%, which is totally insufficient.
I would add, we are hosting the APEC meeting for the 3rd time, and I think that if we become aware of the importance of this meeting in the main economies, the leading economies of the Asia Pacific, then we can also develop some optimism based on that, I think.
Hopefully, it is a great opportunity, but it depends on who should internalize it, which are the authorities at all levels. Hopefully, this will be the case. And this will allow us to accelerate the growth that is essential to recover these lost years we have had in the country.
Okay, Luis Miguel Castilla, former Minister of Economy and Finance, Director of Videnza Instituto, was with us. Thank you very much, and we will be with you in a future opportunity. Gabi Chicoma has information on Expomina 2024.
Thank you very much. Expomina Peru, the largest and most important mining event of the year 2024, with 16 years of trajectory, with the special participation of the United States as guest mining country. Expomina Peru is the only Peruvian event certified by the United States Department of Commerce. Do not be left out and be part of this great mining event. Reserve your booth at Expomina Peru. For more information, visit our website www.expominaperu.com.
We enter our international block, American Mining, always linked from Wall Street, New York, with José Gonzáles, who is editor of the international section of Rumbo Minero magazine. And as always, we welcome him most cordially. How are you, José? And a happy and fortunate 2024.
Very good, Cesar. Likewise, a great year in this year that we have already begun.
Indeed, and the year that has just ended, José, has been a very complex year for metal mining. given that while on the one hand the idea of decarbonization of energy generation took shape, and this was reflected in the COP28 agreements, however, on the other hand, we have not seen an increase in the price of metals, what is not expected for 2024 in the industry.
That is correct, Cesar. According to JP Morgan, 2024 will be a year of diminished conviction as global GDP would slow below the 2% potential in the first half of the year, and core inflation would hold steady at 3% in the United States, causing central banks to maintain tight monetary policies. It is expected that rates could fall, but it remains a 50-50 expectation, which would cause profit margins to compress and financial conditions to remain tight. According to the investment bank, end-of-cycle interest rates and inflation will continue to be a global theme in global markets, which would continue to affect expectations versus metals and minerals pricing. So let's review the year-ahead contracts in the commodity markets. Gold futures at the close of this year, at the beginning of this year, at the close of last year, at the beginning of this year, established that the most precious of metals could be closing the year 2024 at levels of $2,126 per ounce, despite the fact that the gold bucks, the gold fanatics, are betting on quotations that exceed the 2,200 levels. In the case of copper, futures contracts in this year that is beginning are quoted at $3.9 per pound. However, analysts project that quotations will be higher than $4.5 per pound for 2024 and higher than $5 per pound for next year due to substantial increases in copper smelting and refining capacity, particularly in India, which would make evident the expected deficit between supply and demand of the metal, which is more or less inevitable due to the agreements established in the COP28. In the case of lithium, futures contracts on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange are opening the year with basically flat quotations compared to 2023. We have not yet seen, and it will take some time to see, the massive demand for electric cars expected in the United States and Europe. In any case, the outlook of traders, who are the traders in the financial markets, differs from analysts who argue structural conditions vis-a-vis sentiment versus global economic dynamics that usually reflect the outlook of these traders. It will be a challenging year for global mining in any case, Caesar.
Right. Jose, on the other hand, oil, which should have broken historical records in 2023 and which closed the year with quite modest quotations, taking into account the geopolitical risks at a global level, will it be able to recover future quotations in this 2024?
The oil situation is complex. Miguel, the Brent contracts, which, as you know, is the North Sea crude oil, which is the marker for the price of crude oil, opened the year with quotations that for December of the new year of this 2024, if realized, would imply a decline in the price per barrel of more or less 1%. According to futures, oil, which closed at $78 per barrel last year, would close at $77 per barrel this year. Crude oil would be affected by the same economic variables that affect the perception in the prices of metals and minerals, with the aggravating factor that in the United States, due to the reactivation of fracking, shale oil is already higher than that of Saudi Arabia or Russia. The United States opens the year producing more than 13 million barrels of oil per day. In the case of crude oil, there is also a disagreement between traders and stakeholders who have commitments and are directly involved in oil production. The International Energy Agency and OPEC mentioned that demand could grow this year between 1.1 million barrels per day and 2.2 million barrels per day, which would improve prices towards the end of the year. On the corporate side of oil, last year's acquisitions of Occidental Petroleum and Crown Rock and ExxonMobil and Pioneer Natural Resources, in addition to the announced acquisition of Chevron and GES, indicate that the consolidation of conventional producers with fracking producers points to corporate pricing. Economies of scale are going to be needed for oil companies to continue to realize significant gains at the average that markets expect, independent of all these dynamics, that oil prices remain stable. This is good news for consumers, not necessarily for the oil companies or for the countries that depend on oil revenues.
Jose, thank you very much, as always, for these projections, and also the same ones that we are going to follow throughout the year 2024. We will be linked next week.
Pleased to meet you.
It was Jose Gonzáles, as you know, international editor of the magazine Rumbo Minero, which you see here in my hands, comes out every 45 days. But you can access it directly through the internet at www.rumbominero.com and download it absolutely free of charge. You will find Jose González's comments, analysis, projections of everything that is coming in the mining field during the year 2024 in the only specialized magazine that provides you with great information.
Activos Mineros AMSAC is a Peruvian public company with a great purpose: to give life back to the planet. Thus, we are dedicated to contribute to the sustainable development of the country through mining environmental remediation. At AMSAC, we recover areas affected by high and very high-risk mining liabilities, which are in a situation of abandonment, or where the state has not identified those responsible. In this line of work, we are currently present in 11 regions of Peru, with a portfolio of 65 remediation projects, which are located in different phases. Promotion of private investment. At AMSAC, we represent the Peruvian state as counterpart of the transfer contracts of important mining projects, and we also supervise the fulfillment of the commitments and obligations that are part of such processes. Today we are leaders in business management systems, among the 35 companies of the FONAFE Corporation, with ISO 9001 certifications in quality management, ISO 14001 in environmental management, ISO 37001 in anti-bribery management, and ISO 45001 in occupational health and safety management. At AMSAC, sustainability and care for the planet are our DNA, and therefore, we are proud to contribute to creating a better world through the recovery of air, water, soil, and ecosystems impacted by mining liabilities, and thus contribute to 10 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals by the year 2030. Giving life back to the planet is more than a simple phrase for us. It is the guide of our daily actions, with which we positively impact the lives of thousands of Peruvians, and through them, our country.
Well, as we had announced, Miguel Incháustegui is with us. As you know, he was Minister of Energy and Mines and is currently an independent director at Candente Copper. With Miguel, we are going to discuss leadership and concrete actions against illegal mining. We welcome you most cordially, Miguel. Thank you very much, and a happy 2024th year.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Miguel, in the Congress of the Republic, in view of that stormy closing that took place very quickly, it has not been noticed that there are 3 bills that seek to expand the Integral Mining Formalization Registry. The famous REINFO, which has caused so much controversy because for many analysts it has failed as a whole, that is to say, in the purpose it had set out to formalize a large number of informal miners. How do you consider that we should proceed in this area? Is it worth expanding it? Should REINFO be revised? What do you propose?
What we are seeing is that we need to not expand REINFO, but promote a dialogue in order to improve artisanal mining. I believe that the more artisanal mining can be formalized, the more illegal mining will be reduced. There is an ISM policy that was worked on in March of 2001 and concluded in November of 2002, which was a multi-stakeholder effort. And in some way, they proposed several initiatives. A new artisanal mining law, for example, where they proposed the associativity between artisanal miners. They proposed to improve the agreement with the concession holders, with the artisanal miners, And in some way, the reinfo issue is very clear. That is to say, there is information that there are 88,000 registered in reinfo, of which 80%, 70,000 are suspended, and not necessarily because they lack some issues, but because they do not want to comply with the environmental issues and permits required, which are minimal, and that is obviously where illegal mining is being camouflaged. So
Agreed.
I believe that in reinfo, it is not about extending the term, it is about limiting it, approving this new mining formalization law, and eliminating those 70,000, right? Because really only 20% of those of reinfo really want to formalize. The rest is unfortunately using that mechanism to be able to, the illegal ones working in that way, in quotation marks, in the process of formalization. But we all know that there is no intention to formalize, right?
Miguel, while we know that there are criminal gangs behind all of these attacks, to mining operations linked to the extraction of gold, is there a possibility that due to the importance of copper for the international market, this could also be threatened in suddenly future attacks, also operations linked to the extraction of copper?
Yes, unfortunately, the attacks that took place in December, right, in Poderosa, then the week after what happened in Poderosa, there was an attack in Puno. They are gold, but there are also artisanal or illegal copper miners, right? So, and because the price of copper is rising, I believe that what we should do is, this has to be part of a crusade. This is not only a matter for the Ministry of Energy and Mines. We have to convene several ministries and define a short, medium, and long-term plan with clear and measurable objectives, right? I remember in 2019, the Mercurio plan was launched, for example, to eradicate illegal miners in La Pampa. It was invested, but unfortunately, with the Castillo government, it was reduced to nothing, right? So I believe that the issue of illegal mining is an issue that has to be worked with several sectors, including the private sector, and to define a medium and long-term objective, right?
Last year, Miguel, the Ministry of Economy, of Energy and Mines, issued Decree 028-2023, which refers mainly to the simplification of certain procedures and also to help the AIA, adequate use of water in the exploration stage. Do you think that the regulation is really well given? Will it favor mining exploration with this new legal framework?
Yes, I think it is an interesting step. What is being done is that the water issues with the issue of to explore go in parallel, simultaneously. I think it is an interesting initiative. According to what the minister said, it also went hand in hand with the virtual single window.
That's right.
Which was for the exploration issue. What I would recommend is a little bit more sense of urgency, because more initiatives like that are needed to promote that there are these exploration is faster, and so that the projects can move forward in a good way.
The important thing is that they got it right, didn't they? An angle that needed to be addressed under this new legal framework.
Yes, exactly. And I believe that the effort is, it must be recognized, because what the ministry is looking for is to work in parallel with ANA so that these permits can be issued in a more optimal time, right?
Miguel, there are, following the line of the exploration issue, in the last few weeks, there have been cases of social opposition to mining exploration, endorsed in some cases by local authorities, even though there is authorization from the regional governments, as is the case of Loreto, which announced that it will reject the requests for authorization for mining exploration in the Nanay River Basin. Nanay, even though Ingemet has granted a concession of 1,000 hectares to develop gold mining activity in the area. Last week we had the engineer Romulo Mucho here in the program, in the last program of the year, and he told us that he did not agree with the development of mining exploration in the jungle. Hey, what is your opinion on this? Is it possible to develop mining in the jungle?
Well, in the jungle, there are many issues to protect and take care of, but I believe that an exploration with all the environmental and technical standards can be done, right, in the jungle. Precisely, it is important that the permits are according to the environmental standards, and that they are well worked and in a participatory manner, and that the opinion of the people of the area is recognized I believe that the same thing that is happening in Loreto is happening, for example, in Ayacucho, in the area near a lagoon. The mayor has said that there should be no mining in the headwaters of the watershed. For example, it is an issue that needs to be regulated. I believe that we should not exclude any activity, but include all activities, but in compliance with environmental and technical standards, right? In that sense, I think this, and we must also remember that the mining concession is a title that is given in an area, but from there one has to present its environmental permit and be approved. And in that evaluation is where the areas that must be taken care of are excluded, right? What I encourage is to have a greater technical dialogue to be able to determine in which areas it is possible to carry out exploratory activities and in which areas it is not, right?
Well, Colombia and Brazil have had a binational agreement for the purpose of controlling illegal mining in the Amazonian area, which they share, of course, and this has been called Maloca Grande, a whole operation that, well, has also has been designed based on the destruction of certain machinery for the exploitation of illegal mining. But do you consider that we, Peru, could enter into that perspective? Because an action, let's say, is being globalized in South America to combat illegal mining. Should Peru participate in an effort of this nature? Do you think so?
Yes, in any case, I believe that we have to raise our voices because according to what the MEF says, for example, the budget for the fight against illegal mining has been reduced, hasn't it? In 2019, 19 million sols, and now for 2024, there are 88 million sols. So I think that we should, like this type of strategies between countries, we should work on it. Peru has serious problems with illegal mining, with Ecuador, with Colombia, this one with Brazil, right? So I think this one, what I suggest is that we debate in a multi-stakeholder space, for example, such as RIME. We can reflect on how the government can take more effective action, increase the budget, coordinate with neighboring countries to carry out a serious fight. And again, I believe that in this case, it is not simply a matter of removing and burning the equipment, but of setting up military bases and promoting artisanal mining in that area, right?
Perfect. Well, obviously also the issue of Puno with the issue of the exit of gold to Bolivia is also an issue of concern, quite a lot. How can we also work on this issue regarding the issue of Bolivia and the exit of gold illegally?
Yes, well, we all know that the production of gold comes out of Bolivia because Bolivia does not have gold mines and exports more gold than Peru. To a certain extent, its exports have increased, right? I believe that here what we should propose is a crusade between the government and the private sector to be able to define, well, how to combat this activity, right? As I mentioned before, we need to have a short, medium, and long-term plan. We need to increase the budget. It is worrying that instead of increasing, it is being reduced.
Is it in the interest of the Bolivian government to take any kind of action?
Well, it seems that they still have to. They should coordinate more, and let's see, precisely in these cabinets between the governments, ministerial, this issue should be discussed in greater depth, right? There has not been, I do not see any interest on the part of the Bolivian government, and I believe that regardless of the position of the government, whether it is of the left or the right, this is an illegal criminal issue that should be fought between all the governments, right?
Miguel, as always, thank you very much for your analysis and above all for your proposals, because there are proposals in everything you have mentioned that we should take up and that we will probably discuss during this year. We look forward to seeing you in a future opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Miguel Incháustegui, former Minister of Energy and Mines and Independent Director at Candente Copper, was with us. We go with Gabriela Chicoma, who has information on Expomina 2024.
Thank you very much. Expomina Peru from September 11th to 13th, 2024 will be chaired by Luis Rivera, Executive Vice President of Goldfields Las Americas, and integrated by an advisory board of recognized mining leaders who will support us to achieve a magnificent organization. Highlight your brand through the different sponsorships we offer at Expo Mina Peru. Networking opportunities, participation in exclusive activities, promotion in the media, among other important benefits. For more information, visit our website www.expominaperu.com.
Moment of presentation of the Mining Labor Exchange.
We are KSR Global, experts in talent management. At KSR, we believe in the power of talent. We have 3 business units designed to meet your company's objectives in a personalized way, from middle and senior management, junior leadership, RPO projects and assessment tools. At KSR Global, we manage talent, we empower companies. Looking for a strategic ally in talent management? We are here to help you.
Well, we are coming to the end of the program. It is very interesting, Miguel, in this first program of the year of the 2024 Stock Exchange of Mining course to talk with Luis Miguel Castilla and also with the former Minister of Energy and Mines, Miguel Incháustegui, because they have given us approaches on how we can observe the perspectives that can be developed this year to recover the awareness that that mining is the most important economic lever in Peru.
I highlight a phrase of Luis Miguel, who has an optimism,
Cautious optimism as opposed to the absurd pessimism attributed to us by the Minister of Economy and Finance, Dr. Alex Contreras, which is undoubtedly my point of view, very personal. I think he is already politically exhausted. It is necessary to step aside to appoint another head, especially in a year of great expectations, as what has to be developed because of what Luis Miguel Castilla has explained to us. There is a rebound effect. There is a moderate Niño. There are better interest rates, so it could be a good year. I am Cesar Campos. Together with Miguel Zavala, we have been in charge of leading Rumbo Minero. Do not leave because Peru Construye is coming.